I'm going to show you the best setup for maximum concealment in the tree this fall. What's up, guys? I'm going to show you one of my favorite setups when I'm out in the deer woods, and that is setting up in the split of a tree. So we're going to get into it. I'm going to show you exactly how to set up and some things that you need to consider when setting up in a tree like this. Now, why would you set up in a tree that has a split like this? First is concealment. When you have a tree trunk that you can lean against, it just breaks up your outline that much more, and I feel like you can get away with a lot more. You can even hunt lower in some cases when you're set up in the split of a tree. Another reason is it's super comfortable. When you've got the right size split that you can lean against, it makes those long sits during the rut really, really nice. So if I find a tree like this and it's in the right spot, I will pick this tree every single time. So I'm gonna show you how to climb up into it, and there's a couple things that you need to consider for safety, and that is just staying connected the whole time when you're climbing up and down. And when you're going around limbs, you're going up in the split of a tree like this, you're gonna need to pull out your tether and utilize that as your second lineman's belt. So I've already got my lineman's belt hooked up here on my left. I've pulled out my tether, and I'm gonna go ahead and hook it up to my right side. So we'll just run this through and girth hitch it just like this. And then that way, before I even leave the ground, I've got all of my ropes connected and ready, and I'm not fumbling with stuff while I'm up in the tree. So I'll just go ahead and take the carabiner, and this is what I typically do, and I'll just hook it right back into the lineman's loop, and that's gonna hang like that. So I've already got 2 sticks set up in this tree, and this split is only about 6 feet off the ground, but just imagine that this split is 12, 13, 15 feet off the ground. So I've utilized my sticks. I've already got those set up because I don't need to show you how to set the sticks up on the straight part of the tree. But we've got the sticks set up to the split, and then this is where I'm gonna break off and take my second tether, or my lineman's rope, go around so I'm safely on this trunk of the tree. So if you look at the split in this tree, you've got the main trunk that runs up, that's nice and straight, and then the split kind of angles off and leans back. So when you're setting up in a tree like this, you need to kind of eyeball it and see which trunk you're gonna set up on, and then plan your climb accordingly. So I've got my sticks on the main trunk of the tree right here, and then I've got them set to where I can safely transition to the second, more straighter trunk. So I'm gonna go ahead and climb up to the point where I'm gonna need to use my second rope here to get on the second trunk. All right, so I've climbed the main trunk of the tree, and I'm up to the point where I'm at the split, and as you can see, I obviously can't keep going with my lineman's belt the way it is, so I'm gonna pull out my second rope that I've already connected on my right side, and I'm gonna run it around the trunk that I'm gonna continue climbing. So we'll go ahead and run this around, loosen it up, and then just connect it to the opposite hip, and then tighten it to the point where it's taking up all your weight, and then your second lineman's rope is loose. So we're at the point we can take it off, and then I'm simply just gonna connect my carabiner back to this loop here, and I've got that ready to go when I need it again. All right, so I'm gonna go ahead and climb up on to this stick that I've already set. And then at this point, I can set another stick and keep climbing, or I can go ahead and set my platform up inside the crotch of this tree right here. All right, so when you're getting ready to set up in a split like this, you wanna make sure that you've got enough room to fold your platform over, but also enough room that you can lean up against this and not be too crammed into the tree right here. So I'm gonna go ahead and set a third stick right here so I can get just a little bit more height and get me up into this split just a little bit farther. So we're gonna go ahead and set another 1 stick right here, and this is actually gonna serve as a second step around the tree after I set my platform. So I'm gonna go about right here. All right, and now I'm gonna go ahead and pull my platform. So I'm gonna go ahead and step up on this stick just to give me a little room to set my platform. As you can see, I can fold it down. I've got plenty of room right there. It clears that split right there. So I'm gonna put that about right there, and that's gonna give me an extra step over here onto my stick in case I need to maneuver around the tree for a shot. All right, so I got my platform positioned here. I'm gonna go ahead and cam it over. You can see it just clears this split, so that gives me enough room to fit in here. So we're gonna go ahead, and before we transition completely to the platform, I'm gonna step up here and I'm gonna go ahead and run my tether around this tree. Now this tree splits again right here, so I could put my tether on the right side split or the left. And in this situation, I'm gonna go to the left side split because I'm planning on my shot being on the strong side. And with this trunk here, it's a little bit too close. I don't feel like I'll have enough room to move. So I'm gonna tether up to this side, and that's gonna give me a little bit more room for maneuvering around. So since we used our second rope in this setup, I'm gonna go ahead and pull this rope off, and it's gonna serve as my tether. So we'll just go ahead and undo the girth hitch on it. Now we can take and install this on the tree here. So all right, so now I can pull my bridge out on my saddle. Go ahead and get hooked in. That way I'm connected twice really before stepping over onto my platform. That way if you have an issue with your platform and it would happen to kick or do something funny, you're not gonna have any trouble. So we'll go ahead and transition over to that. And then once this has all my weight on it and I check that, make sure it's locked off, I can go ahead and take the other rope off. All right, so we're essentially set up, and as you can see, with me leaning back like this, I'm up against the split in this tree, or the second trunk, and the angle of me coming off of the tree matches the split that I'm leaning against. So as you can see from the farther camera angle, I'm gonna blend into this tree, and imagine I have camo on. If I'm just standing here like this, up against this split, I'm gonna be much more concealed than just hanging off of a straight tree. So this is a really, really good setup for concealment, but also just for comfort, like just having something to lean against. The saddle itself is really not doing a whole lot in this situation. I'm more or less putting most of my weight against this tree, so it's really, really comfortable. All right, so I'm safely set up, and this is super comfortable. You can see I'm just leaning against this split right here. And the one thing that may be a limitation with a setup like this is some of your shots are going to be a little bit limited just because you've got this tree right here in your way. So obviously, being right-handed, I'm set up to kind of shoot this area over here, so I could kind of squeeze myself in and kind of tuck myself in here for even more concealment. But this tree here behind me is going to get in my way if I would need to shoot over here. So I probably need to plan that out a little bit, you know, as I'm thinking through the setup and where the deer may come through, and try not to set up where the deer is going to get behind me to where I'm going to have to deal with this tree getting in my way. But say a deer is on my strong side over here, say in front of me at 12 o'clock, I've got that shot there, and I can easily pivot around and still shoot back to my 6 o'clock leaning up against this tree like that. So that's something to consider and think about when you're setting up like this, and just make sure that you're not setting up with this limiting your ability to shoot. That is how you set up in the split of a tree. It's super comfortable, you're super concealed, and if you can find a tree like this in the right spot, it is an awesome setup.